Today's date is August 21st, 2024. My name is Jacob Stickle. I am the archival assistant here in Warren County, and this is the Oral History Project. And I'm here with
Amber Stegner. I am the imaging support here at Warren County.
And I'm here with
I am Lucian Hatfield.
Thank you for coming. Oh.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, I think.
Of course. We'll see how this goes.
Okay.
I wasn't sure what to put for your job title because I didn't actually catch that. What is your official job title?
I guess I'm a customer advocate at OhioMeansJobs, Warren County, which also implies I'm a case manager for folks that come in for assistance.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. When and where were you born?
Well, I was born in a little bitty spot in the road in Adair County, Kentucky, close to Lake Cumberland, exactly a week after D-Day, 1944.
All right. That's easy to remember, though.
Oh, yeah. When you get old, you can't remember much. But yeah, that's me. 1944.
Did you grow up there? In Kentucky?
Well, yes and no. My dad was a pastor, and so not like a lot of pastors, but he moved around a lot, still in school. I was born when he was in college. So when he finished, then one school, then we moved to Wilmore, Kentucky, which is where Asbury College is located, and that's where I ended up graduating from. Okay, My mom was from there, just a lot of connections with the college, and so from there, then we moved to Ohio. Well, my dad was in seminary up in Dayton, and then when he finished there, we moved to Kentucky. Couldn't get rid of the state, but moved to Kentucky. And actually, he was a minister down in southeastern Kentucky in the mission field for what became the Methodist Church. So we spent a lot of time in southeastern Kentucky. He was from there, and so then from there, then we ended up in Knoxville, Tennessee, and that's kind of where I say I grew up. So,
What period of your life would that be?
I'm sorry.
What period of your life would that be? You moved around a bunch, but when did you actually settle down around Knoxville?
It started at school in a little bitty schoolhouse in Kentucky. We went first and second grade, and we moved to Knoxville. So we were there for 9 years, and then from Knoxville moved to Middletown, Ohio.
Oh, right in Middletown. Okay. All right, that covers where you lived. What jobs did you work prior to Warren County? I know this is going to be loaded, but where would you like to start?
What did I do in Warren County?
Prior to it. So we can just start with in high school, right after high school.
Oh, goodness.
Up to you.
I didn't work. My toughest class in high school was band, so I didn't do much. But no, I graduated from high school, Middletown High School, and then went straight to college. And I went in as a music major, okay, and hated school. I think I was punished because I ended up teaching for 30 years, so I think that's how I was punished. But but I ended up kind of gravitating toward a certain level. I ended up in the middle school level, and I'd planned all my college career. I'd planned on being a high school band director and choral director, and that didn't work out, so I ended up taking a real job. But when I started college, then I had to lay out for 2 quarters to work, make enough money to go back. And while I was out, I was actually hauling office furniture around, just like this stuff we're sitting at, for a company over in Middletown, driving an old 40 Econoline van, going all over southern Ohio, moving that stuff around, and made enough money and went back to college and graduated. And from there, because I graduated in August, and I came up in the spring looking for a job, and I'd applied for a band director's job, and then there were no text messages, no anything like. So I came up here. I hadn't heard anything. I came up here on the weekend and say, "Hey, what's the deal with this?" I'm not going to tell you which school because that's a whole other issue. But I walked in the superintendent's office and basically said, well, wait, we filled that job. So here I am, like less than a month away from start of a school year, and I have no job. And a little lady that I'd known for a lot of years, I was in my dad's church. She heard that story, and she came up to me and she said, I think I can find you a job. I said, well, doing what? And she said, teaching. And then she made a comment to me that, and I tell this story a lot in groups I work with and so on, because you never know where it's going to go, where your life's going to go. And she said, well, I bet you didn't know that I'm on the school board at Waynesville, did you? And I said, no, and really exactly what I said, where the heck is Waynesville? Because growing up in Middletown, where's Waynesville? You don't know. Okay. So anyway, I interviewed, and coincidentally, and it struck me about 4 or 5 years ago, at that time, all prospective teachers had to interview with the county superintendent. Mm-hmm. At that time, the county superintendent just happened to be Raymond F. Hatfield from Waynesville. Oh. And I remember that very clearly. But then it dawned on me one day as I'm sitting in my first office in the old courthouse, wait a minute, my first interview for a job was right downstairs. It was in the basement level, because at that time all the county offices were over there. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I interviewed, and so I want to put a marker on the door or something, but but seriously, that's what started. And it's kind of funny how the 360-degree connection, because my office is right upstairs now, and
right on Silver Street. How funny is that?
How in the world I ended up back where I started, I don't know.
Life puts you in funny ways, right?
Yeah, it does.
So you were part of so you taught band in Waynesville for a while, or what was your title there?
I was teaching. See, I was a high school person, and when I interviewed for the job with Mr. Hatfield, he said, well, this is a 6th grade job. I said, wait a minute, and I don't want to deal with those little kids, 6th grade. And so, but I had to have a job, and so I interviewed. They ended up hiring me, went over and because I had to take some classes. I had no elementary certifications or anything, so I had to go back to school. So here I'm a college graduate, and I had to start back to college to pick up these courses. And as it turns out, I ended up taking classes in what became Miami University in Middletown. And coincidentally, at that time, before any of the campus at MUM was built, they were using my old high school, Middletown High School, for their classes. And my first class with MUM was in my high school study hall.
Oh, for the love of it.
So, I mean, I'm getting all kinds of weird stuff going on with it, but I got this job, and I'm thinking, I'll take this 6th grade job until I can find the real job. Mm-hmm. And I got in there, had no clue what to do. It was a self-contained classroom. Had these little turkeys all day long, except for a couple of periods a week. Didn't know anything about anything. And I bluffed my way through. But on a serious note, it took me about a month to realize that's exactly where I wanted to be as far as age. So I spent my entire teaching career at the middle school level. And, even when I got to New Orleans, that's what I did. So,
why do you think it took you a month before you became more accommodated working with
I'm not sure. It just, because it wasn't a fear. It was just, I don't know anything about what I'm doing when I moved into this elementary class. And I'm teaching every subject, which I had no background in. And it was the 11, 12-year-old, 13-year-olds that once you got acquainted with how they thought, then, I like working with these guys. And so that's what I did. And strange thing, I thought about this yesterday. I played a little basketball, off and on, and Middletown was a big basketball school at that time. And the athletic director at the time learned that. He said, hey, I need somebody to coach 7th grade basketball. Well, where did they put me? In what is now the old, it's bulldozed now, but the old Waynesville gym. 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning with 7th grade boys. I said, you got to be kidding me. This is nuts. Why would anybody? But anyway, I did that and got that. But I kind of gravitated more and more toward, because I really wanted to be in music, okay? And I volunteered to work with a high school band and then the director. So I got into some of that, worked with a marching band, and
Who you originally had gone to school for?
and at some point in time I said, hey, or somebody said, hey, we need somebody to announce the band at halftime, so I got into doing that, and again, I have no idea how but seriously, it tied in with what I originally wanted to do and went to school for anyway, so.
All right. What's your instrument of choice by any chance? Do you have a preference?
I'm sorry?
Your instrument of choice.
Oh, I was a trumpet major in college, and keyboards and stuff.
Oh.
And then, back in the 70s, I had a band that played a lot of places, six-piece band, and we played Holiday Inns and all that stuff, so
All right.
I never couldn't get rid of it.
My grandfather was a big bass player back in the day, so he loved doing that sort of thing. He had to quit because he had 4 kids at home he had to deal with.
Well, I end up really, because I've done a lot of arranging and didn't write a lot, but I just arranged a lot. And every piece of music that I've either tried to write or I've orchestrated or arranged, I start with the bass line. That's my brain thinks bass, and so no good at it, but it thinks bass.
But that's what comes to your mind first. Okay. Do you still play?
I haven't as much since I moved back to Ohio. In fact, I have a grandson who's a great musician. He plays. He's got bands. He played down in the Cincinnati area, and I actually gave him my bass and a lot of my stuff. So I figured when I walked away from it, I was just walking away from it. And how I ended up doing what I'm doing. I don't really need a bass carrying into, although our director, brings his guitar to work every now and then. So we'll stop there. That's not true.
I gotcha.
But music's been my life, really. I mean, it still is in many ways.
So your grandson better be treating his your instruments with respect, huh?
I graduated toward more vocal stuff. And one of the things that I truly enjoyed doing at Waynesville, a group known as Sing Out Dayton, which is part of the old Upper People, which still is in existence, Upper People movement. They came to Waynesville and did a show in the parking lot down by the grocery store, and I said, man, this is kind of neat stuff. Right. And so a group of folks in Waynesville, parents and some of us got together and said, we can do this. So we actually started a Sing Out Waynesville group, which if you dig back in the old Western Stars, you'll see we did a lot of shows.
How cool is that?
At the fair and just different schools and stuff, made some trips. And over the course of the 3 years we were together, had about 120 or 30 high school and college students involved, had a band that played, and I directed, and we did the whole thing. So
oh, wow.
It was fun. I enjoyed doing that. That was in the 70s, early 70s.
Good chunk of folks. Did you guys go to festivals? Okay.
Everything from the Pumpkin Festival to we played at Ohio State a couple of times, or the Ohio State Fair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was like a parades group, or how was it presented?
We did. It was fully choreographed on stage.
Man, that's a lot of
scary
people.
Now to think about what we did.
Yeah, the amount of choreography with that. You said 100 to 130?
Yeah, we actually had two different casts. We could do 2 different things at the same time.
Oh, all right.
So it's kind of fun.
That's fun.
Had a couple of real tragedies, though. We were on a trip during Christmas season up to the old Salem Mall to do a show up there in the mall, and the kids were on buses, and our drummer always carried his equipment in his car, and to make it short, he was kind of leading the way, around 73 to head north, and the buses behind him were full of the kids. And on 73, about 73 and 48, he got head on killed. It was a man and the kids in the group saw this right in front of them. And of course, then before the telephones and the text message, we were up there, had the stage set and everything, didn't know, wait a minute, what's going on? And finally the message got to us. So
Jeez.
It was awful.
How'd you guys have to organize that afterwards? The show must go on, or?
Yeah, and that was in December, and then the following July, we were doing a show, actually a series of shows for the 4th of July celebration in Franklin, and we did our first show and took a break and said, okay, now be back at such and such, and one of the little girls was with a group. They were out looking for something to eat or whatever, and she stepped out in front of a moving vehicle and killed her on the spot. So here we have had two under these unfortunate incidents in 6 months' time, and so it was. And a few months after that, then when what is now part of the Waynesville Middle School, which is the gym now, when it was a new building, we actually did a show there to raise money to establish a foundation for students at Waynesville for who were interested in stuff. So, and it was a major part of the community.
That's nice that some good came from that.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, tragedy.
It really was.
Would you like to talk about anything else you'd like to mention about your time in Waynesville? Or would you like to move off to New Orleans?
Well, I was in Waynesville for 8 years.
Yeah.
And it was just time for a change. Okay. And I had no idea where we were going to go. We just bought a house and said, where are we going to go? I don't know. South, I don't know, because I don't like cold, I can see them. So anyway, I sent out some letters and so on, and basically the first place that responded was New Orleans, and flew down and interviewed, and this is a private Episcopal day school.
Oh.
I've never been in an Episcopal church in my life, okay? But drive by Lake Pontchartrain, it's an absolutely beautiful setting, and this was in what year was that? 73, 70, 74. But this was for a middle school science job.
Oh.
Because I taught science some at Waynesville.
Just some.
And but anyway, ultimately over the course of negotiating back and forth for about a month, I ended up taking a position and did not know one person down there. We packed up and moved. Stayed there 21 years.
Why New Orleans out of all of that?
Well, if you're a musician, that's the best place in the world to be.
Makes sense.
And,
you're doing
and over time, that's exactly how it all developed, because the headmaster knew I didn't want to teach science, and so what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to do what I want to do and what I went to school for. I wanted to do the music thing. But bottom line, I'm more gravitated toward vocal and the choirs, and started working with the choirs. There was no choir, started working with a music teacher, and over time I developed a show choir, which at the time was the only competitive middle school show choir in the state.
Oh.
Which, you talk about scary. We had no place to compete except against high school students. Scary. Anyway, that's all. But that's what I did, and for about the last 5 years, then that's all I did. I mean, because I did a lot of the productions and the choir shows, and it still exists today. So
those high schoolers must have felt a little bit of shame if they got beat up by you guys, huh?
Actually, a couple of them did because we competed in one of the biggest show choir festivals in the South, for 3 years, and the first time we competed or performed, they put us at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And these kids and parents had to drive from New Orleans. It was about an hour and a half drive to Baton Rouge, and there was nobody there except the parents and and me. And but the next year we were in the middle of the day, and the next year after that we were one of the choirs in the early evening in front of a lot of people. So, but that part was fun, and I enjoyed doing that. So,
All right. Huh.
Which doesn't have anything to do with the old courthouse, but
Oh, fair enough. Well, it's an interesting part of your life, right?
yeah, and I work a lot with folks because part of my job, over time, because I had the professional American group for Warren County for 8.5 years, and COVID stopped us because we just couldn't. And I've done a lot of presentations and a lot of work with folks who are out of jobs. Sometimes they think they're too old to get a job, and that's why they're not getting jobs. I've done a lot of this stuff, but I tell a lot of these stories basically to say you never know where you're going to end up, and what one question or one comment can lead to might change everything. That because I keep thinking back that when that lady that I've known for some years said, "I think I can get you a job," that changed everything for me, and it continues to go that way. So when I run in or come in contact with somebody who's looking for advice or help in finding a career or renewing a career, so, let's just stop. Why do you want to do this? And I almost always ask the question, especially if they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they come in and said, how did you get into doing what you just got laid off from? Mm-hmm. Well, I need a job. I said, okay, because most people, when they get out of high school or college, have learned that they might have a family by then, they might have student loans, they got to start making some money. So whatever job they can get, they're going to take that. Mm-hmm. With kind of like I did, kind of anticipating when the other job, the real job comes along, I'm going to move. But then they get in there and start making a little bit of money, and they get a little advancement going and move up the ladder, so to speak. And all of a sudden, it's been 10 years, and wait a minute, you've never done what you really want to do. So let's stop and think about that. What did you really want to do when you got out of school? And then we explore that and then try to guide them and assist them and help them into realizing some of that. So, but that's has been a big part of what we've tried to do at OhioMeansJobs.
Definitely. That's a fantastic way to circle back into that. Some people just need to hear that. I think a lot of people think of what they need to do as opposed to what they want to do in terms of a job. I mean, and usually 40 hours of your life over every week,
right.
You got to be accustomed to doing this sort of thing, or maybe enjoy at least aspects of it.
And I kind of joke about it a lot in some ways. Say, well, because it makes them nervous. When you're looking at something entirely different, even if 20 years before you thought about doing that, it makes you very nervous. Well, I don't know, how can I do that? I'm thinking, you know what, it's where I can use some of these stories and say, here's what happened to me. I'm scared to death. You move into a city the size of New Orleans, you don't know anybody except the one person interviewed with you. Mm-hmm. That's a big jump. We did not know one person. I'd never been to New Orleans, until So talking to folks about that, the experience of the fear, the uncertainty, and so on that you're going through, and man, I've got a family, I've got to have a job. Okay, well, pick up a job, but then let's work on the career side, which are two different things.
Job versus career.
Yeah, because most people end up thinking about the job, and then say, wait a minute, that comes and goes, especially with the way the economy's been, the last several years, and the layoffs and the uncertainty and high unemployment, all that kind of stuff. You can't rely on it. It doesn't matter what your situation is, what kind of job you have. So, in some ways, it makes it easier for me to talk about that because, in some ways, I've gone through some of that. I have not lost any jobs, but it's just the idea of changing,
doing drastic changes,
being afraid of it.
Definitely. Moving to a big city, that'll do that, and I think that's a good idea, Joe, from your experience in that. How did you end up moving out of New Orleans and starting to work for Warren County? How did that whole process work out? No, we were ready to come back and ended up buying a house in Waynesville, which coincidentally was right in front of the school, right where I first started my teaching. And like I say, my wife at the time, she'd heard that there, because I did some, being on the chamber, we had a meeting one evening and had a guest speaker come in from the Warren County Career Center. And she was talking about a new program and this, that, and the other, and I kind of got involved in that. And then I'd bought into a cafe in Waynesville. Oh. Okay. And it took me 7 days, I think, to realize I'd kind of got myself a 7-day-a-week retirement job. I said that was stupid, but anyway. And that same lady came in to have a cup of coffee one day, and she said, "Oh, this came here to let you know that we've received a grant, a 2-year grant to do some things with the local school district." Okay, well, that in my case had been Waynesville, so I knew Waynesville.
So anyway, I kind of got involved in that, and that put it in a little office about the size of this table at the Warren County Career Center. And I was still at the cafe, but I was in and out of there. But I got to know those guys, and the superintendent came to me one day and said, "Hey, we're starting a new department here. I'd kind of like to have you take care of that and develop it." What is that? Well, it's career pathways. What does that mean? I don't know. Anyway, I ended up then, after a few months of that, then I got offered a position at the Career Center as the Career Pathways Coordinator. I didn't know what that was, but I did it.
Sounds nice, though.
But seriously, that's kind of how I got in the whole career thing, okay? Because my job there for like 4 years was working with the high school seniors who were getting ready to go. They'd finished, or in the last quarter of their program, was electrical, carpentry, or whatever it was, and then work with those folks to get their placement out in the field, in the career field that they've been taking. And that's then kind of how I got involved with the chambers and business owners and all that stuff. So one thing kind of transitioned into another. I had absolutely no reason to do it, except it's just one of those things that just kept developing. So.
Yeah. But you can draw from your old experience. You mentioned the business owners. You owned your own business for a minute. You worked with sixth graders. I mean, how different are sixth graders and high schoolers? Probably a lot more than I'm giving them credit for. But
well, all the sixth grade boys are always in love with the high school girls, so that's a strange connection there. but that position. Did put me in connection with some of the county stuff, meaning when the courthouse was reopened in 1999, see, I was at the Career Center, and we'd been doing some projects with the director, and the OhioMeansJobs directors at that time were in the back part of the old jail.
Oh, you were there.
While they're doing the construction or reconstruction of the courthouse. And the day that was dedicated, we were invited, two of us were invited from the Career Center to go down and be a part of the dedication ceremony. So somewhere, maybe in one of those 1840 books you got over there's a picture someplace of us standing out on the front steps of the old courthouse on the day it was kind of rededicated. So I was like, wait a minute, again, it kind of goes around full circle, so.
Mm-hmm. It's out there somewhere. It probably could be out back there.
Yeah,
I bet it is. That's really fun.
But again, as I talk to folks, I said, you have no idea where something's going to lead you.
Yeah.
You have one little decision or one little mistake or whatever is going to take you a certain direction, and you just don't know. And I think the main thing is just don't be afraid.
I think that's some swell advice. Well, we already covered which departments you were working in Warren County here. When did you officially start there? You said
February of 2009.
2009. Okay. And OhioMeansJobs didn't become that until when did they switch over names?
Switch over what?
When did it become OhioMeansJobs?
Before that, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, it's around there somewhere. It changed quite a few times up the state, from what I recall.
Because it was a Workforce One.
Yeah.
State to begin with, and because I was hired when it was Workforce One, and then throughout the state, because every county has an office. Only a couple of counties have two offices, but statewide it was changed. Because see, all this is federal money, so the feds, actually don't control, but they dump the money down, and the money goes to the state and to the counties. So everybody, but I think it was a wise decision, because at that time every county, that office had a different name. And it was not, folks had no idea what we did and didn't know that every county had an office that was similar to that. So it finally became Workforce One for some, but then when it became OhioMeansJobs, have you noticed we have the same logos because we use a new state logo and all that stuff. So everybody has some idea, hey, here's what you guys do.
Some amount of consistency then.
Yeah.
I think it makes it a lot easier to see.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, especially with it means jobs. I mean, it's in the in the title. And you said you were located in. Well, I guess you just said during construction you were located in the back of the jail, right? Just for
No, I wasn't, but the office for OhioMeansJobs. I wasn't working for OhioMeansJobs then,
Gotcha.
but the directors had an office over there in that very back section of the jail. So that's where I first met them. You know, I'm walking, what is this old place? You know, but so then everybody moved over when the new building was opened, or the new old building, or the old new building, whichever it was.
And that's where they got that teal paint job in the third floor in the courtroom there. That's right around the construction time in the mid-90s. That makes sense. And they've always been located in that Silver Street building there in the courthouse then, for as long as you've known them. Fair enough. What are your daily tasks and duties, like your routine or?
Well, I don't know. It varies from day to day many times. For example, this morning, I'm concerned about two things. One was there's a young lady who we've approved to get into her SDNA training, okay? And a couple forms she has to sign to get her uniforms and so on for her to go to class, okay? And I had it set up for her yesterday to come in today, this afternoon, if I survive this and you get over there this afternoon. But then she called and said, well, I can't come in. Well, your class starts next Monday. We got to get this out. So anyway, deal with getting that schedule, get her in, get the paperwork signed. There was a gentleman that came in February that had just been released from prison, and immediately really liked this gentleman's way of thinking, way of speaking, and so on. Really wanted to try to help him. Okay, he was trying to get his CDL license, CDL Class A license, but he didn't have a GED. He didn't have a lot of things which would require as part of the process. And he said, "Okay, we'll tell you what. You work on the GED, and we'll think about getting your funding for your CDL license." Okay. Well, he called me yesterday. What's the day? When he called me Monday. Okay. I finished. He took the test 3 times. Finally passed it, and I'm ready to go. I said, "Okay, now we've got to get you in and get the paper." So stuff like that. See, because it's not necessarily the same every day, and you don't know what's going to come in as far as what the needs are. Somebody might come in and just say, "Hey, I'm looking for some job. What do you want?" I don't know. But then somebody might come in that's got some serious issues. That's where we try to get maybe other agencies in the building involved. Okay, it might be somebody looking to get the food stamps, which we then send to the right place. Right. We have an OD group, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. I've got a great group that uses part of our building, and depending on the disability or whatever, we talk to those folks, and then they set up a game plan for that person. So we're not getting rid of them, but we're moving them into what hopefully is the right building or right office or right agency for them to be assisted. So again, it might change from day to day. And when we're in the process of, like right now, it's a busy time for us because a lot of folks want to go to school in August or September for their new term. So we're looking at funding and talking to schools and getting those schedules all arranged and so on. So it changes a lot. But the last year or so, we've branched out a lot as far as what we're doing because the funding has been limited from the feds and the state. So we've taken that as an opportunity to do different things. In fact, we've started doing a lot of what we think of as career fairs for the high schools. Okay. We've got maybe 50 employers coming in, taking over the gym in a school, and these guys, then all the students in the high schools come through and get acquainted with those career fields and people that are representing those careers or companies, okay, all the way from the military down to various schools and
oh yeah.
So that's been very successful over the last several months, and got more of those coming up. Have a person in our building who's specifically working for the business services, and meaning he's out there working with businesses, getting them connected. But we've had several job fairs that have become more and more important as the unemployment is in and out. You never know what it's going to. So there's a lot of stuff over the last year or so that's moved out more into the neighborhoods and the county. And I work more with the Workforce Development Board, and that connection, building those relationships with business. Another thing I did, and actually COVID kind of stopped this too, because for about 5 or 6 years, I took care of the on-the-job training contracts for Warren County, and I was working with companies that we could, people they wanted to hire, we would interview them, and if they were eligible, then we could fund them and then reimburse that company for the pay that they received during that time. And that I put out, I don't know, maybe 250 of those over the years in different companies, several here in Lebanon, all over the county. So, and that still exists. We just haven't used it. We have not, because the companies haven't requested as much, but it's still there. And in fact, I have a company over in Springboro that still is looking to do the next one, a big one down in Mason that's looking to get. So there's a lot of connections, I guess that's what I'm saying. Instead of just what people think of us being there for people looking at jobs coming in and going to our board and so on to see what's posted. So there's a lot of stuff out in the communities that's going on now that we hope has been very successful.
It sounds very successful.
I think it is, yeah.
And it sounds like a spider web of trying to keep all these connections of businesses to people. Is it difficult to make those connections with businesses too? It sounds like people, always come to you, but I wonder how difficult it would be to get the business side of things.
Well, I mean, it took a lot of meeting HR people and hiring managers and so on out in the companies. In essence, it's a win-win thing for everybody because the person gets a job from day one, plus then it's providing a good employee for the company because they're training them the way they want to train them, and it's been a win-win because, see, if we send somebody to, say, Sinclair, okay, they're not employed in that career field until they finish. If I send somebody to a company on an OJT, they're employed the first day at the same rate of pay that somebody walking off the street would get if they're just applied on their own to that company. Mm-hmm. So that person's got a job automatically, which is looking good for everybody, and especially that individual in that family. So
yeah, sounds like a win-win. Put somebody a little bit higher in life and gets on the right track. Okay. You said you guys are the ones that put them through Sinclair, or is it you put out feelers, send them to send them down the scholarship direction, or how does that work out?
Well, if this person, when we have the funding, if that person goes through our eligibility requirements and meets them, then we can fund that person for their program. We can fund up to 2 years of training typically, which in some cases could be like an associate's degree, but we do a lot of certification, a lot of licenses, that kind of thing. For example, a CDL right now has been a big one. I mean, we have put a bunch of guys and ladies through CDL Class A training, and they go for 4.5 weeks and walk out and make good money.
That's it, 4.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising. No wonder they're going that route. A lot of vocational stuff? I know you mentioned Sinclair.
We've done a lot of IT stuff and do a lot of healthcare. One of our big ones has been the last 3 or 4 years has been dental assisting. Which reminds me, I got a 3-hour dental appointment tomorrow, which I don't want to go to, but I guess I will.
I need to set up an appointment with my dentist. It's been way too long for me too.
But I mean, and see there. We have a board that takes care of the 3 counties, Butler, Warren, and Clermont, and they kind of decide based on the economics in the area, the unemployment numbers and so on, what are the demand positions, demand career fields. So we got a list of about 7 or 8 or so that we need to look at first. If you want to get into oceanography, it's probably not one in Warren County. That's going to be very employable. Okay.
That's not it.
So once we get through that, then making those connections, finding the schools, and we can only fund schools that are approved by the state of Ohio, okay, and so we got a lot of connections with different schools. There are probably 3,000 on that list, but we've got about 35 or 40 that we've actually made agreements with. Everything from Sinclair, we got Cincinnati State, we got vocational schools, Butler Tech, Warren County Career Center, Great Oak System. Then we just came up with an agreement with one that a person just started last week. She's going to be the first in the state of Ohio that school is working with. Okay, it's kind of, I said, you're the guinea pig here. This better work. You better come back with a job or don't even. So, but it's developing those connections, and because you learn that some schools are very effective, some are not. So.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Sinclair myself, and I found to be more on the effective side. And how much do you follow up with some of these individuals you put in the schooling and later they get a position? Do you follow up with them?
Oh, good Lord, yes.
Okay.
I've got a list laying on my desk right now that I printed out the first thing this morning. We have to follow up for a year every quarter. I've got a list of 65 of my clients laying on my desk right now that starting whenever I get the nerve. No, I got to start making connections with each of those folks. Okay, who are you? You still have that job? How much you making? When you said what's your job title? That kind of stuff. We have to do that every quarter until they're finished. And we do that through the first year of their time out of school. Because then that's how we're audited by the state. Say, how many of these people did you get jobs? How many are still there after a year? So
they want numbers.
It's not like we throw them out there and pay for them to go to school and get their oceanography degree and then forget about them, because we're held to very high standards.
That's fair. Yeah, it's by the state. And how much do you think that changes your position in the county? Because you guys receive mostly state funding, right?
That's all we get.
I figured as much. How much do you think that changes your guys' position compared to other county-wide efforts? Like, can you work better with other OMJ affiliates in like Montgomery County or towards Hamilton?
Theoretically, they're all the same, but in reality, they're very different. You go to a large county like Montgomery County. I've been up there. We've been up there for some meetings, and it's like in another world for us. In fact. One of the neat things about where we are and what we do is that building. Okay? And one of the commissioners that was sitting upstairs when this whole thing was developing, okay, she almost took that place as her stepchild, in a sense that it is what it is now because of that person. And the other, I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying the way it's different. The other counties have all the agencies in their building. Everything from cash assistance to food, all that stuff, okay, which is absolutely necessary. But there's none of that in our building. We're totally the OhioMeansJobs part. Now, if somebody needs information on, well, how do I get my food stamps? Okay, here's where you go. Okay, so that makes us very different. In fact, we've had people at times over the years who will drive from Montgomery County or wherever to come to our building because it feels much more accommodating. I just use that word. And we've got, how restaurants have regulars. Yeah. We have regulars, and I'm saying that in a good way because they feel comfortable coming in, knowing they're going to get the assistance that they need. If they can't there, they get it someplace that we recommend. Say, hey, go talk to so-and-so. So it's very different.
That's fair. That's more, like you mentioned, more welcoming. People get used to you and think, okay, I think I can go to these guys and they'll put me in the right direction.
Right. That's one of the things I enjoy. And change the word, appreciate about working for Warren County because it does create that atmosphere that we're going to do our best to help you. And if we can't, we're going to find somebody that can do it. In fact, had a person come in just a few weeks ago that we don't do any tests or anything like that, and we try not to judge, but within a few minutes of speaking with this person, we realized that, hey, she needs something more than we have. And the good part about what goes on, as I mentioned, that OOD, the Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, they're right across the hall from me. I said, hey, can you talk to this person? Yeah, come on in. And that started that person's process through the system that hopefully is going to change the way she's able to live and operate. And she came in just trying to get a job, trying to go to school, and said, wait a minute, you need more than that. So that's how, and again, that's the advantage of being in the situation we're in that old courthouse, okay?
Makes it a little bit more homey too.
Like when I left to come over here a few minutes, there's hardly anybody in the building that you can see. Although Monday, there were 40 some odd people up there who were getting ready to start the process. English for anyway.
English as second language.
Yeah. Okay, there are like 40 up there. It's supposed to be over the next couple of weeks. Going to be 100 people up there getting prepped to get into those classes. Now you can't see because they're up in the old courtroom, okay, in their initial presentation. But you can't see it when you walk in because they're all upstairs. But you can see the parking lot's full. And then yesterday, I don't know how many was up there, but there's a big push right now for those in the reentry process. Have been released from prison, and there are companies that are really working hard to get them employed and that kind of thing. There was a certain number up there, and I think there's another group coming in this afternoon. Again, so does that have anything to do with what our title is? Not necessarily, okay, but it's there. And that's one advantage of having that old courtroom set up there, because now it's very high tech, and we got it set up so that it's very accommodating. You can put, 80 people up there easily. Again, that's using the other agencies. They're using our building. We're helping them, and I think it's a good combination. So
it sounds like it. In case you guys want to get the word out too, and you guys just work very well together from the sounds of it.
So one of the questions was, what is it about the place? Something that people don't realize or don't know. Well, that's it in many ways. And then yesterday, there are two offices right behind our reception desk, and last week we had two different staffing companies came in, and they used those for a few hours trying to recruit people. But yesterday, there was, good Lord, I don't know how many, several attorneys there for mediation conferences, okay? Who knew that? Well, they're there working with folks, and I don't know what situation, we have nothing to do with it, except they use our two little offices. And so, again, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that just not generally known, so.
I mean, if that's what you guys are known for is networking with your departments as well, working with them. And
speaking of that, one of the things, because what have I enjoyed, I had the professional networking group for Warren County for 8.5 years. We met every Tuesday for 2 hours, and I think we only missed like 4 Tuesdays in that 8.5 years, and that's when I packed up and ran down to New Orleans or something. But those were professionals that had, for whatever reason, lost their job, layoffs, company moved to somewhere, and we met anywhere from 20 to 40 folks every Tuesday. The only thing that stopped us was COVID.
Gotta do it.
And in fact, I still hear from a lot of those folks over the years, because if you take 48, 49 meetings a year with 20 to 40 people, we ran a lot of people through there. But I would book some Tuesdays. I would just do some presentations. We'd do some stuff in class, but then I invited in human resource directors, hiring managers, owners of companies. I brought in attorneys to talk about the legal aspects of employment, that kind of stuff. And We talked everything from resumes to interviewing, but I say, hey, what do you look for when you're getting a boatload of resumes on your little monitor? What do you look for? So they learned about what companies really look for in resumes. I had about once a quarter we did a mock interview where I would invite in 12 hiring managers, HR people, and our people would go through 4 different interviews over the course of the morning, get a critique at the end. Hey, you need to smile more, you need to whatever, okay? And had a lot of success out of that. And as the employment numbers got better, I mean, the numbers per week got less, okay? But still we played, and I still hear from some of them periodically.
Oh, man.
What's scary for me, being the antique that I am, I came across accidentally, day before yesterday, on Facebook, a student from my very first class in New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Had nothing in all those years, okay? Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. Boom, there's her name. It just popped up, okay? So I look her up. She was 63 years old. I said, oh my goodness gracious.
Just there.
I think I died and, they got me propped up in a chair someplace. I mean, 63, she would have been like 12 when I had her hit. So,
Oh, goodness.
now that was scary. So anyway, I kind of got sidetracked there. So,
It's a wild world we're living with, the way especially social media works with the algorithms.
it's changed everything.
That's a nice thing to put in, because that's speaking of networking. Has that changed any sort of perspective people bring into OMJ, or is that still? So I feel like I see a lot of people talking through social media, or like LinkedIn is a big part of it. Do you see much change because of that?
For a good bit of the time, the networking group, I pushed LinkedIn all the time, but it's changed drastically over the last year and a half or so. It's got much more Facebooky.
Yeah, it really has. I do, yeah.
In fact, when I was looking for HR speakers and so on, I would go to LinkedIn and I just typed in, put the zip code in, said HR directors. And I get a list, and I'd contact one of them, say, hey, can you come and talk, and that kind of stuff. But I don't do it much anymore. I still have people, if they have a LinkedIn profile, I make sure they put that on their resumes. I'm working with them, but
It helps. That's how I got one of my first internships. Was I applied using, one of them was LinkedIn, I think, and I had to make additional forms, of course, but that was part of it. It still has its uses.
Yeah.
I suppose you must find it rewarding, right, working with this amount of public?
I'm sorry?
You must find working with the public rewarding if you work with them that often. You have that list of 65 people at your desk.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges, you would say?
Challenges for us?
Yeah, or for your position specifically.
Well, not just me, but without getting into much specific situation. I mean, funding right now is an issue. And that's something we have no control over. And there are a lot of folks who either have been laid off or have left a position out of concern that it's going to be a layoff situation that we might not be able to fund. But I try to make it situation where I really want to know why they want to do this. Well, I need to make more money. Well, maybe everybody does, but
Sure.
that's not necessarily what we do, okay? Have some folks that come in who ask for a particular training position in a field, and they say, well, why do you want to do this? Well, my uncle said you make a lot of money. Well, you're not your uncle. Is this going to fit you? And see, one of the things that I've kind of thought of for the years, like I said, I think I was punished because I hated going to school. I was in a great band in Middletown. I loved going to band. But I think I was punished because I hated going to school, because what I ended up doing all those years teaching. But at the same time, I think that what I do now in many ways is an extension of what I did all those years in the classroom. And I joke about it, so I don't have to give tests, but I'm still working with those folks individually, sometimes with groups, like we do with, or have done with the networking group. But it's still working with those folks individually and trying to find out what their needs are, what their experience is, that we can work on building from that. And the challenge I think is that's that one word, like we just can't do some things for some people. And some don't understand that ours is not just a gimme. In other words, just because you walked in there and filled out a piece of paper doesn't mean you're going to get the funding. Because our eligibility standard, is it appropriate? Okay.
Let's see if it matches.
If you hit all the eligibility pieces as far as the documentation, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be funded.
Yeah.
Because it might not be, in our opinion, might not be the right thing for you. Because again, it comes back to the end result for us. We're held accountable for folks getting those jobs, okay? And that's the best part for everybody. You get the job, then great. But if we fund you to spend X number of dollars on you, and I just need something to do, my wife kicked me out of the house or something. So but it's actually trying our best to work with those folks, and that's another thing that I really enjoy about the group that we have working with us. Okay, we're very small. Okay, we're the smallest of any department or agency in the county. I mean, probably the state, because we only got a handful of people. But it's a good mixture. And it works really well when, like, for example, in the resource room. Okay, that's the main point of contact for people. They walk in the resource room, hey, I'm looking for a job. Okay, well, it happens frequently that if somebody's already working with 2 or 3 folks in there, and they get another 2 or 3 in there, they just get on, hey, come here and help, and we all do different things, but it's all with one purpose, let's say, and we all kind of know how to speak the same language and the direction to send people if we can't do what needs to be done. So that's why it makes it easy to go to work, even when it's old as I am,
You just have some sort of better drive than just my uncle told me to do it. I remember when I first started schooling, my dad was really pushing me to go. It was like, go for a trade or do something like this that you should get money in. And I thought, well, I don't know if I would really want to get up every day and do that. Not really motivated. And I think a lot of people tend to forget motivation is a big part of keeping a job. And if I had a buddy that lived in Warren County, I would send him to you guys, because he's up in Montgomery County. He hasn't had a job for a while now, and it's like, shoot, I want to send him your way. But wow, are there any coworkers, managers, or other people that you worked with that have had a large impact on you? We can go to before OMJ if you like. Like people have had. You mentioned the person who was on the board. That helped you get the job for OMJ to begin with. You mentioned them. I know you guys had, drawing a blank on the man who just retired, but.
Not necessarily connected with OMJ, but I think the one, as I look back, the one that influenced me the most, believe it or not, the very first principal I had when I started teaching in Waynesville. Because I was a middle school head in New Orleans for about 9 years in my school. And that's when I got tired of doing that. And then I got into doing all music stuff. But the very first principal I had, we had like I said earlier, I had no idea what I was doing. Zero. In this 6th grade class, I had no idea. And there was another gentleman who was a new teacher that year also that had taught a couple years in another school. And so anyway, we had our opening of school meeting with the faculty. And I said, man, I don't even know what they're talking about, the lunchroom and recess, I don't know any of that stuff. So anyway, the principal called the 2 of us in his office. I'll never forget, he said, we talked for a little bit, then he finally said, well, I don't know why they hired you boys, but whatever it was, just go do it. Okay.
Well.
Okay. problem was, I don't know what they hired before either. So I'm still good friends with that other teacher, long ago retired, okay. And he actually got me through those first 2 or 3 days. But I think about that principal, and when I was, we didn't call it a principal, but I was a middle school head. And when I was a middle school head in New Orleans, I thought about that all the time, because you guys were hired for a certain reason. Somebody saw something in you.
Mm-hmm.
If you need something, come see me. But don't bother me, because that's why they hired you, to run your classroom and do certain things. If you need support, come get it. So I think he had, both directly at the very beginning, but indirectly over all these years, had more impact on what I did the rest of my time than not.
How about that? A hell of an impact in the beginning, anyhow.
And that was a long time ago, so I still think about that. And actually, I won't use his name because there's family still in Waynesville, but I had his daughter, maybe the first year I was there, and I still see her all the time.
Wow.
That's what's scary to me, because I run into Waynesville people a lot. Hey, I had you in 6th grade. Hey, dude, you're 90 years old. Shut up. You know. Wait a minute, where'd you people come from? You're still alive? Wait a minute, what's wrong here?
Don't do this to me.
Yeah, stop it. Or I'll kind of use that as an example too. People say, well, how old are you? And I'll tell them, and if I'm in the right side, I say, see that old guy over there? I said, I taught him in 6th. No, yeah, I did. So, now, when the grandchildren of some of those start having kids, that's when it gets scary for me. That means, God, I must be 100. Nobody told me. I don't.
What's going on? Yeah, some people have them early too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. What was your favorite part? I need to change that. What was your favorite part of your job when you started versus now?
I think, kind of an odd way to put it, I guess, but I think just learning what all was involved in learning how to work within a system I didn't know anything about, if that makes sense. Because I'd done some career stuff at the Career Center, but it's a totally different makeup of what we were doing, because those kids were going to be placed out there someplace. Well, here are people walking in, and how do you direct them? How do you help them? What do they need? I met with a gentleman Monday who came in. He was asking questions about, how do I get grant money?
Grant money.
Okay. Well, he was 50-something years old. I said, well, what do you want it for? Well, he told me a number of things. He was thinking his possibilities. And I'm thinking, what have you done in the past? Well, he told me something had nothing to do with what he's looking at. So anyway, we started talking about that, and because I met with him for maybe 2 hours, and I said, why do you want to do this? Well, I've got some physical limitations now. I'm not sure I can get back into doing. Okay, but as he's trying to look for a job, and I always ask, well, how did you get your very first job? High school, how did you get your first job? Almost everybody will come back and say, well, my uncle told me they're hiring down at McDonald's, okay? That's networking. And then somewhere along the line, we get into this thing, you got to get online, you got to do all this with Indeed and blah, 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 blah. Why? Most people get their first job because Grandpa knew somebody down at the gas station, and how do we get away from that? And I started asking him those questions, and he said, well, yeah, I know some folks, but I said, do you have a resume? Yeah. Have you been sending that out? He told me to send them over 50 of them out.
Okay.
And I do a little 25-cent speech on that stuff. Well, what's a resume for? Well, everybody says, well, get your job. No, it's not. It's to get you an interview. So if you send 50 of them out, you don't get an interview. They're not seeing what they need to see on that resume. So let's talk about that. So anyway, I've got him coming back first of next week to totally redo his resume. Okay, but stuff like that, he left really happy in a way, because I think he finally saw that there was some direction to this, that maybe there's some resolution that's going to give him some assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Still doesn't have a job. Okay, but I think he sees that there's a different way, and he's not been doing. I didn't say you're not doing it right. I said, but there's a better way that. And I learned that when I had all those HR people come in and talk to that group. Here's what we look for.
That's a big part of it.
And a good HR person can tell if you're sending the same one out to everybody because they know you haven't read the job description.
Yeah, you need to tailor it to the.
You know, so I don't even put an objective on there many times because why don't you send out a resume? You need a job. You don't have to tell them in a paragraph, I'm looking for a job. They know that. So, but stuff like that, you know. And I was really, I mean, it took a lot of time, but he ended up, and I showed him some resources online, how to find, you know, what jobs are in demand and that kind of stuff, and what the salary ranges are in southwestern Ohio and all that stuff. So.
Oh, geez, sorry, that's the elevator. It's been going on and on, but that was especially loud.
I lived in New Orleans a long time. I thought it was a hurricane that was here.
No, not yet. Not until
Because my hearing aids sometimes do weird things, but
probably sounds a little bit more distorted then. Right, you were talking about how people look for jobs, and you were relating it back to HR people. That's what it was. I have a buddy who did the same thing. He's just sending out so many different resumes, and we're like, hey, just read the job description, tailor it to the.
Yep.
Oh, goodness.
And say that's kind of a side note.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have Career Center has several instructors in our building through the Aspire program.
Mm-hmm.
Do in fact, I never know what all is up there, but we have things. Which is considered to be job search workshops. Okay.
Oh.
For example, I send a lot of people to the Tuesday morning resume class. Okay, they do a great job. They send them up the Google Docs thingy dingy, so I can go any place and log in and get the resume, that kind of stuff. Interviewing is today. Interviewing lab is going on every Wednesday. Okay, Thursday is communications skills. So they talk about. Everything from self-esteem to personalities, all that kind of stuff. So again, there's a lot of things that go on that people don't necessarily realize, but those are become very important. We've got a Google Apps lab on this one Mondays, so it takes them through the whole Google Apps docs process and all that stuff. So
that's big. Yeah, that's a free. It's
yeah,
a free thing.
those
You
are
go
all
to
free.
any library
Yeah.
computer. Is that stuff online by any chance?
Give it to you.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna scan it in and put it into. Could probably put it in the description.
And,
of the
and these are
YouTube as well.
walk-in classes. You don't have to register for them.
Okay, I'll be sure to. I was gonna put it like in the description of the YouTube video, so it'll be
Sure.
like, oh, people know what you're talking about. It's right here. Is there any other memorable projects that you would like to talk about? You mentioned so many so far. You have your hands in 65 different people's shoulders, dealing with all those guys.
During COVID, we had to stay open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, people need jobs in COVID.
But except for the director and the supervisor, all of us were at home.
Mm.
And in the midst of that, I picked up my friend COVID. She and I were together for 2 months.
2 months.
October 2020 through end of December. So I was home anyway.
Yeah, you have to be.
But we did some. I have a laptop, so I did some work, But basically, I was done. It's been interesting these last few months. I'll just put it that way, because with the way the economy is, with the way people changed, in many ways changed their mindset during the whole COVID thing, it's been a hard adjustment for a lot of people.
Yeah.
In fact, I know that day, March, whatever it was, 2020, on the end of that day, the hospitality, restaurant, bar industry lost 571,000 people in the state of Ohio that day.
They were on it then.
And if you look at the industry, the companies and industries and businesses that are still and a mess from that. I mean, all the way from closing to bankruptcies, everything. But those businesses were staffed by people. What happened to them? And I think that by itself changed a lot of procedures and mindsets on how do I get a job? I mean, and they come in all the time and say, well, nobody's hiring. Nobody's hiring. Well, I pulled up yesterday. I haven't looked today, but I pulled up yesterday at OhioMeansJobs.com, which is our state job search site. There's 157,000 jobs posted. State of Ohio, all the way from Cleveland down to Cincinnati, 157,000. Well, but, no, don't say but, okay. Get on there and look, fine, because you can filter it down. Location, salary, full-time, part-time, that kind of stuff. Then you come back and tell me there's no jobs out there for you. I mean, because there are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't pay enough. Well, that's another part of my little speech that I try to be very honest with folks. But these companies don't care that you have bills.
That's the way
they pay what you're worth to them. That might not be what you need. I mean, it's a whole other story for me. But I used to say, people come in and say that, well, how many cell phones you have in your family? Well, we've got 4. Okay, well, son of a gun, we used to survive with 1 hanging on the wall, that kind of stuff. Say, well, cut out the cable. Yeah, what would my kid do? Well, give him a socker and put him out underneath a tree and let him read a book, But the point is, it's changed so much that not determines, but it kind of directs how folks come in to see us. They're expecting this. Wait a minute, we're going to try our best to make sure it's the right thing for you. We might make a mistake, but we're trying our best to make sure in our judgment it's the right thing. Because you're asking for help, we're trying our best to give it, And sometimes. And I had our first completer of a police program.
Oh.
I'm not going to give her name. She lives right down the street here. I'm not going to give her name, but it's a real struggle for her. Okay.
Training can be rough.
She'd worked 2 or 3 jobs and all kinds of things, and she came in one day and said, "I want to go to the police academy." What? Well, she completed. It's almost 3 weeks ago now, I guess, and she started applying for jobs, in different police departments, and she found out, which the classes didn't tell her necessarily, but found out, well, wait a minute, you got to have some kind of experience as a security guard at McDonald's or something before. Well, she got that job. She went through orientation last week, and she started officially Monday.
All right.
She came in yesterday. First thing. Now, if she sees this, she knows I'm talking about her. She whipped out her handcuffs. Says, "Put that back. What do you mean? You're showing off now, aren't you?" So, but the point being, that's the very first one that I know of that finished our program. That was 15 years I've been there, and so that's a first. The first, not just the policeman, but the first female in that position. It's kind of neat.
That is really neat. And I remember checking out their website the other day. Yeah, they have ads for it. Need what did it say? Need female corrections officers right on front. It all adds up.
Her goal, she told me yesterday, is to actually be a detective, and she moves on through the system.
There we go. We need detectives.
So anyway, that's
nice.
That's kind of what we do.
That's a nice success story. That's good to hear. Oh, man. Do you want to go over some highlights of your time with the county? I feel like we went over so many as we already did. What was the county like when you started versus now, like the county-wide? We can go back to just when you started teaching in Waynesville versus what you see.
Well, good Lord, there's no comparison, because that was 1965, so there's no comparison between then and now. Everything from population to size, I mean, you name it. One of the little side things I did once I moved back, well, first of all, I ran for the Waynesville School Board and got defeated. That was a good thing. Because good friend of mine was the mayor in Waynesville, and had an opening. Somebody resigned or whatever. He came to me and said, "Hey, how would you like to fill in that spot?" Okay, sure. But once I did that was about 3 years worth. But once I did that added a lot of stuff. Got some of my ended up being the chair for the planning commission, which was interesting. I chaired the historical preservation board in Waynesville. That was more interesting. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I call it the hysterical board. No, that's the historical board. But that gave me a real good look at the political side, so to speak, how all that stuff works. And strange enough, the village itself has not grown that much, population-wise.
Interesting.
In fact, there's been very little annexation, that kind of stuff, so it's still a little small town. But then another thing which I didn't throw in, I booked all the entertainment for the Sauerkraut Festival for like 13 years.
That is...
And then I was on the stage the entire time announcing, "Hey, here's Billy Bob's band coming up now." So, and part of that was right after 9/11, which changed everything.
Yeah.
And for everybody, but especially with that little town. And you got 300,000 people coming in 2 days. It changed a lot because that's when the concrete barricades went up and I had the, what do you call it, the sky. They put a limit on, what do we call it, space, the airspace.
Yeah.
Nobody could fly through and all that stuff. And
that's pretty wild because you guys have the airfield right there too. Mm-hmm. Oh man, yeah, that would have been.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I guess more security, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I remember driving through. I go right from Bellbrook through Waynesville to Lebanon, and I've always had some family nearby Waynesville, so that's just wild. Seeing Sauerkraut Festival recently, taking up that whole area when you're going south on that road. You see just that whole area as a parking lot now because for the Sauerkraut Festival. So that's pretty wild. Man, you said it hasn't grown very much. Why do you think that is?
What's that? I'm sorry.
What you say, Waitsfield hasn't grown very much. Do you want to theorize as to why?
Well, I think it's grown up around it, but as far as the village limits, it's not grown very much. And one of the things, quite seriously, we tried our best. At least I did when I was on the planning commission. We didn't want it exploding. Mm-hmm. Okay, so companies or developers had to really work hard to commit. Hey, I want to build 400 houses, or no, you're not. That kind of thing. And I think it's a major piece about Warren County all over. I read stuff, Facebook or whatever, all the time. So, Lebanon's awful now that it's growing. Well, so what? I mean,
it's the same town you grew up in, right?
Did you only have one kid, or you got 5? Well, I mean, it's the same kind of thing. I mean, it's natural. It's going to grow, and I think it depends on how it grows, obviously. But that's one of the things I appreciate about the county, and that overall, I think commissioners and all those other individuals do a good job of handling that growth, I think, in an appropriate way.
Yeah, I mean, one of them was from Mason directly. I mean, that place in particular.
I remember Mason when it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned I coached basketball for like I don't know how long, too long. Even the point where we would play Kings Mills. Mm. And I'll never forget, the first little trips we went to play a basketball game on Saturday morning was to the Kings Mills Elementary. It was like a barn. I mean, that was a tiny little district.
Just a little barn.
So you think about over the years. I mean, that's a beautiful school system and all kinds of stuff. You can see Kings Island in the background over there. So overall, I think the county's, has grown obviously the population, but look at that whole Mason corridor there, Bethany Road and so on, but the companies, sometimes international companies that have moved in there that greatly added to the workforce, and overall economy. So people still want it as a little old country. Well, it's not. It's not.
I feel like I hear a lot of people discuss the growth of the county too. Usually I would have a lot of people from Soil and Water recently, and people want to do the small county vibes, and they want to come in, and but the more people that come in, the irony of the whole thing.
Well, those people move in and they get on the school board and get on the councils and something change that. Well, then speak up.
If it really bothers them, yeah, sure,
Yeah,
they
so.
should. I already talked about. Did anything significant happen within the county government during your time as an employee? I know we already discussed 9/11, COVID, I guess recession, but how has, well, I guess it's just influx of different people asking about jobs and whatnot. Is there any other additions you want to put in there?
No, but I always find it fascinating when somebody comes in and say, "Oh, we didn't know this place was here." I mean, they came in looking for help of some kind, and we do it. "Oh, we didn't know this." Well, and that's why I tell the little story about somewhere in the county. There's a picture of me standing out there on the front steps of 1999, so I know it's been there, that kind of thing.
It's been there for a while. Where have you been?
But I don't know. I just think it's overall. I'm very, as a resident, I'm very pleased with the way the county overall operates. I'll just put it that way. I like what I know of. I don't know a lot, but what I know of is the overall philosophy as far as finances, all that stuff. I pulled in the when I pulled in the parking lot. Now I've been in this parking lot hundreds of times, but I pulled in it because I cut through whatever that building is, the Human Services building next door. I said, "Good Lord, look at all these cars. I'll bet you that 99% of these are employees." Well, that tells you something,
You see them all head out, yeah. It seems that all the employees are around that area in particular where you're cutting through.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like on the other end, where the front door's at, that's usually where you have all the visitors come through.
And I see it in our building. I mean, the guys come in on a regular basis. We got to know them, the maintenance guys, where they're working on the AC, the plumbing, or whatever. And just little things like the regular cycle that they come in and do things like changing the filters in the AC, all that stuff. When somebody's saying, "Hey guys, it's time to go do that," and so these guys are getting paid. So that's part of the system that somebody over time has put in place to make sure that buildings are maintained and all that stuff. So
somebody puts in the time.
So anyway,
what are some of the most important things you've learned working for the county? Or you can just say throughout your time as a teacher or whatever you learned on the road.
specific about the county?
This one says, well, it doesn't have to be about the county, just the most important thing you've learned through work in general, you could say.
Work in general, I just think you have to like what you do. And I think part of that comes down to the system that you're in, the people you work with, whoever the head person over you is, how he or she operates. And I've been in some of those positions where I was the person and knew the role that that person played and the impact that that person has and the environment that that person creates. Like in our situation right now, I think the environment is very good because people get along really well together. We all work well together, help each other. And I think that in turn falls off onto the people who walk into our building looking for help. Because we're looking to help. The guy's got the office next to me, and then it's just kind of natural to. Been into some offices, stay away from me. we got the same boss, but you stay away from me. I don't want, that kind of thing is, no. Because I retired like 3 times. I don't need to be working. No.
I don't need any of that anymore.
So, but anyway, I enjoy and I'll change it again. I appreciate the overall system, how it operates. And when we send somebody, say, to Human Services, that's where you got to go. And then a week or 2 later, they'll come back in and say, "Oh, I said, did they help you?" "Yeah, they helped me." But, makes you kind of feel bad. Well, at least I sent them someplace that wasn't going to be kind of nasty to them. But seriously, I think that overall is important.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to current Warren County, or well, not necessarily Warren County employees, but people coming into OMJ? What advice would you give some new employees coming in there? Sorry, were you able to hear me with all that elevator nonsense going on?
Get a new elevator system. Yeah.
I know it. Would you like me to repeat the question?
What was that question?
It was, what advice would you give to current Warren County employees, or rather just OMJ employees coming in? What advice would you give them?
Move to New Orleans. No. I don't know. I'm not good at giving advice. No. I don't know. That's hard for me to answer.
I gotcha. We'll just refer to love what you do. Then go to the. Is there any? Feel free to add any additional information you'd like people to hear. I don't have any other questions here. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Well, maybe kind of tied to the question you asked me that I didn't answer. I think it is. See, for a long time it was almost a stigma for somebody to admit they didn't have a job or they lost their job. Mm-hmm. And with the way even the national situation, the economy, and everything's been for a number of years, everybody knows somebody, or maybe somebody's themselves been out of a job. There's no big deal, Right. But go to the right place to get some help, because there are people out there that try to help, and in some cases there's funding to help along. But forget the funding, and just sometimes it's just advice on what direction to go and how to proceed through that scary time when especially if you're the only provider in the family. You got to get some help, and but just ask questions. Don't be afraid of.
Don't be afraid to ask for help, because every now and then people had hope. That's the nature of the country. I mean, people always have to find jobs. Everybody's got to have a job or close to it. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yep.
That's nice to have. Anything else you'd like to put in?
Nope.
All right. Amber, was there anything else that? Alrighty. Hey, you never know. I might skip something. And yeah. Alrighty. Well, I guess this concludes the interview. Thank you for coming in.
So now, if you guys ever need a job, then you know where we are.
Know exactly where to go.
No, seriously, I do appreciate the day you came over to that group. See, there are more and more people starting to come through. They're bringing some tours through, and I know there's a tour a couple weeks through the jail. Yep. An open house or tour kind of through there. But see, what's that big building there? But the people come in and feel comfortable. We try to give them a copy of the history of that building and all that stuff, which I think is kind of neat too.
That'll be a perfect way to do
it. In fact, the day that, I think it was the day you all came over, the day of the new statue was put on I've got a video of that.
Oh,
and if she got out of there too quick, but I've got a video on my phone. I stood out there and took a video of it. I think they painted the wrong color. It should have been bronze or brass. You're looking, not silver. But so I got that video.
I didn't have any part of that. I got that's janitorial. We have a partial video there too, but if you want to send it to us, feel free to email it to us or.
I find it's kind of neat, but anyway.
That's really fun.
But I think it's important to come through our building, see what the heck we do.
Yeah. That'd be a fantastic way to do it, because people are coming there on, I think it's September. I'll have to look it up again, but if you ask Tori, it's open doors on that Friday, and maybe we can work on a way to throw some mystery in the courthouse there. I mean, encourage people to come along.
I've had a lot of older folks come to, I came in here when it was, because, all the agencies or officers were in there at some point, and I remember coming in, or I was in court upstairs with Judge, whatever his name was,
Like, what?
Did they put you in jail next door? No, they did.
People are finding their way back, huh?
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, I guess we'll turn off now. Thank you.
All right.